Yeah,
Oh my
I'm
God,
so
thank you
thrilled.
for asking me.
I always love to do interviews, the most, probably with the people that I don't know very well, because I get an opportunity to talk to you where I've never been able to do that before about you and who you are and what your story is and all of that. So I'm very excited. So it's Sawkins, right? Is that how you okay. So
Sawkins,
Laura Sawkins is
yeah.
an SSD in the UK. And where are you from exactly?
So I'm originally from Yorkshire, which is in the north of the country. But I met my obviously now husband. God, we've been together for 17 years, and I now live in the south of the country and have done for a lot of years down near London. So yeah, and it's really warm here today. Like, it's not normal for the UK, but we're having a little mini heat wave, so it's actually really lovely.
You guys
We've got a bit of
live
sunshine at
kind
the
of in like
moment.
the 50s, don't you? Aren't you usually like in?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. 100%. Like, it's normally really, really cold. But yeah, so my family, it's really mad though, because when we like went on the incentive trip, and I met, and obviously SS Disney and stuff, and so my parents live about 4 hours away, which to me is like miles, but obviously America's so big, everyone's just like, yeah, 4 hours is nothing. Like, we drive 4
Yeah,
hours
that's
all the
like my
time.
parents live 2.5 hours away. And that's fairly close
Yeah,
for us. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
So
that's close. Yeah, exactly.
that's funny. Well, I like to kind of start off with asking you kind of where your story began and how you ended up joining Scentsy. Like, what was that like for you?
Okay, so I've been with a previous direct sales company. So at the time, let me try and keep it on track, because I've tried to put some like pointers next to the questions. So I had experience of direct sales before. When I joined Scentsy, I was teaching. I come from a fitness background. Like, I was working in the fitness industry, so I was teaching classes. We were married. We had 2 children at the time. We just bought our first house, and we were literally like ships that pass in the night. And we had bought this house and like mortgaged ourselves up to the eyeballs, and it needed all the work. Like, literally, it had been built in 1963 and had never been touched. But you know, it got us on the property ladder. And so I was working. So I was teaching like 6 classes a week. Dan worked full time. I was waitressing in the evening and some Sunday afternoons. And I was a midday assistant in my children's school. So we were literally working all the hours under the sun. But I'd been with a previous direct sales company, and I never regret anything in life, because I think everything you go through gives you experience, and it builds you into the person you're supposed to be. But I thought I was like done with the industry. I kind of dipped my toe in the water, had a little bit of success. So I guess I kind of got to probably star consultant level in that company. I earned a trip, but I never went on the trip. And that kind of spoke volumes. Like, I didn't want to go. And anyway, I thought I was done. And then my friend had started selling Scentsy, and she'd said so many times, like, oh, you should do this, you should do this. And, you know, like everyone does, I was like, oh, no, it's not for me. I've tried that industry. It's not for me. And she kept saying, like, honestly, because I was giving her so many referrals and stuff. And she was like, Laurie, you should just join. So I ended up having a party. And Dan actually said that night, he was like, so you're joining then? And I was like, no, I'm not going to join. And then lo and behold, we had an amazing night. Like, just all my friends loved it. Like, they already loved it, because I was already referring them to Kelly. And that was it. So it was a little bit like, oh, do you know what? I'm here. It's in the moment. Like, it was never like some huge grand master plan to become an SSD or anything like that. It was just, do you know what? Actually, we've got all these commitments. I'm working all the hours, not really getting anywhere. So earning a little bit of extra money is always good, right? But it's crazy, because no matter what people have got going on in their lives, I always say I still found money to buy Scentsy. I was still, do you know what I mean? I was still, everyone, you know, always finds the money to buy Scentsy. So yeah, that's why I joined, because we needed more money. It was a simple fact. It was that, and obviously I love the products as well.
How long did it take you to be like, oh, okay, this is kind of a thing?
So I just literally fell in love with it from the start. As soon as I joined, I was like, this is amazing. Like, what was I thinking? Like, why didn't I join sooner? And I literally, like, I love partying. Like, I totally hold my hands up and say, I love an in-home, getting all your smells out, getting everybody around. So I literally just started partying and talked about the product to everyone and anyone I could come across. And do you want me to kind of answer these questions as I go through? Yeah, because I was gonna kind of answer them one, but so yeah, I just like fell in love with it from the beginning. I didn't hit shooting star, but I did earn sensational start level 3, because as soon as I got in, I joined in the April, and I remember then, like, we were going from obviously the spring going into the 6 weeks summer holidays from school. I literally, that bag went everywhere. And when I say everywhere, like, I'm not exaggerating. I used to, one of the girls I used to work with in the restaurant, actually, who is one of my customers, she messaged me the other day and she was like, oh, it's so lovely to see, Laura. She said, I remember when you used to come into work and you'd put your bag of smells in the back room and you'd say to everybody, have a little sniff, look at the catalogue. And she's like, you're literally still the same person. Like, you just obviously, it's just gone to another level now. So I fell in love with the business and the products very, very quickly, and just shared it with everyone and was just partying. Like, I'd have one party and then somebody would book a party from that party, and then I would say, right, who wants to get some freebies next? I was just partying.
Did that carry over once? I was watching your video, actually, your like how to start your business, get your business going video, and I didn't get to this part. So once you were kind of stuck at home, and I know that UK was much more cautious than America was in terms of the restrictions.
Yeah.
I mean, I only had restrictions based on kind of what I felt. I wasn't told, like, you aren't allowed to, like, go anywhere for, any time. So how did that change kind of the trajectory or what you were doing in your business?
Yeah, 100%. So I'm not gonna lie, like, I had, when that happened and when it all, I literally remember thinking, like, oh my god, like, what's gonna happen? By that point I was when did I went into lockdown? 2019. So I was a star director. Dan was still Dan now is at home. We're at home full time, but at the time Dan was still at work. And I remember when we went into lockdown, and I remember thinking, oh my god, like, what are we going to do? Because I did have an online business. I did have, like, an online presence, but I didn't really use Instagram for my business, if I'm completely honest, when we went into lockdown. I had never done, like, a Facebook online party. I'd always done, like, in-person parties, and I did use my, like, Facebook customer group, but more for, like, oh, your order's here, like, can you share what you think? It wasn't, and so yeah, when lockdown kicked off, myself and Lisa Allwood, who is an amazing superstar director, she's also one of my very best friends, we got together and well, not in person, we spoke on the phone and said, right, we're gonna this is gonna be fine, like, we just need to pivot and work with what we've got. So we literally, like, pulled together this, like, mindset masterclass and got all our teams, and we were like, right, please don't panic, even though inside we were a little bit like, ugh, oh my god. We were like, it's gonna be fine, like, it's gonna be fine. And we just did, like, a 5-day, like, training on working on your mindset and, focusing and setting goals and how we can pivot. And yeah, and we did that, and we just thought of ideas of how we could bring our business online. I massively researched, learned about using Instagram. We did bingo parties, we did online parties. Laura Bynes, who is somebody that I sponsored, she's also a superstar director and one of my amazing friends. She literally she did one online party, and it just skyrocketed. Like, they were just rolling off the back. So then she came in and did a training, and we just moved everything in line, and I think we all had to pivot. It was we had no choice, you know. It was a little bit of that like fight or flight thing, wasn't it? And I mean, when we were allowed to go out and go out on our daily walk, I was still like, obviously only if customers were happy to do so. I was dropping things on people's doorsteps, you know, just like the postman was. So anything physically I could get out as much as possible, I did. But I was doing a lot more like direct shipping orders and things as well.
I mean, it is kind of crazy to shift, you know, and I think we're in a period right now shifting again, you know, where we're in this weird space where, you know, some people feel fine, some people don't. There's still COVID, but it's not, you know, like the same. So obviously, you know, that affects our businesses. We're looking at other areas that are, you know, struggles. And so I think part of being a leader is learning how to kind of adjust your sales to whichever way the wind is going at the moment, you know. So
100%. Yeah.
Okay, so tell me more about, if you don't mind. Number one, what I really want to emphasize too is how or when the business actually moved you into a place where you weren't working 3 or 4 jobs or gone all the time. I want to hear more about that, about how you went from that person and being struggling with we call it house poor, is what we call it, when you have a, you know, you have a huge mortgage and you know, you're struggling. So how did you get from that place, and what did the phases of that really look like for you?
Yeah, do you know what, I love thinking back about this, and when I think about it, it's been, and I genuinely mean this, like, this is, I'm not just saying this for this interview, I have genuinely loved every single part of my Scentsy story. I never put any like huge pressure on myself to say, like, you know, I need to earn this much by this date so I can leave my job or whatever. Like, I just literally fell in love with the process. But yeah, so I joined 5 years ago, April 2017. And oh God, it's really bad. I'm probably not going to get the dates exactly right, but yeah, so I was still so the first thing that stopped was working as a midday assistant in my kids' school. I probably only did that for a couple more months after joining Scentsy, because once I saw I could kind of supplement that bit of income with Scentsy, because I was literally just running myself into the ground. So I was like, right, something has to give. So that stopped quite early. Waitressing, I need to think about this. So when I hit director, I remember I just hit director. We went on an intensive trip.
How long did it take to get to director?
So oh God, I should have had all this written down. I want to say like 2 years. I should know all this. I'm so sorry. I can't remember. I've got it written down somewhere. Hang on. I literally might know. Somebody's asked me this before, and I might know where this is written down. 1 second. See if I can find. This book is where I think it is. I might know the answer to this. Sorry, I'll be 2 seconds. Oh, I might have it here. Yeah, so I was still, see if I can find it in this notebook. I was still waitressing up to, all right, here we go. I've got it written down. I knew somebody's asked me this before. So I joined in April 2000. No, it was only a year. I joined in April 2017. I hit director in June 2018. And that's really bad that I didn't know that. And then, yeah, so up to that point, that's when I stopped waitressing. Because I remember we went on an incentive trip. I came back and I was like, right, I think I can stop this now. So I was still teaching my fitness classes. I was still, and if I'm honest, I always thought I would do that. For a long time, I always thought that, because I was completely self-employed, I didn't work in gyms, I just hired like local community halls and just like did my own thing. So I used to teach Beachbody. I know that's a thing in America. So I used to teach Insanity and Pyre, which I don't know if that, I don't know if people know what that is, but yeah, so I was doing that right up until I was star director. But if I'm honest, what stopped me doing that wasn't necessarily an income. In this interim period, I had fallen pregnant with baby number 3, and after having him, I'd gone back. I'd had this rose-tinted vision of, I will go back to teaching my classes, because I've got no this is quite an important fact, we've got no, like with any of our kids, we haven't got any family close by to like look after them. So when I was working before, they always went to I was paying for childcare, so that was obviously another huge expense. So after having Finley, and I was like, oh, it's fine, because I can teach my classes and he will just either be in his buggy, or as he gets older, he'll just toddle around and do his thing. That doesn't happen. Like, that doesn't happen when you're trying to instruct 30 women and you've got this toddler. Like, anyway, so it was, the reality was I'd reached our director, and we had another child, which there's another little part to this story which will make complete sense in a minute. Dan still worked long hours, so he was a compliance manager for the motor industry. He used to sell cars, and then he went into management, and he'd been there for a lot of years. And the business obviously grew, and my commitments with the business grew, and how much I was pouring into the business grew. And I was trying to learn choreography, look after this tornado baby, we used to call him. And I don't want to say like he was extra challenging, but he was extra challenging. I didn't remember my other 2 children being as full on as this. And it just got to the point, I was like, something's got to give. Like, I can't do all of this. And obviously Dan was like, look, it's completely up to you. Like, if you want to stop teaching. So it was a real, it really, really, and I still to this day, like, I don't regret anything I've done. But I loved teaching my classes. I was literally running myself into the ground, so something had to give. And it was an amazing part of my story. And people ask me all the time, like, do you think you'll ever go back to it? I don't think I will now, if I'm honest. But I still love, fitness is a huge part of my life. I work out every day pretty much, for me, because I love it. But what has then transpired, and everything, you know, worked out for a reason. Christmas Eve just gone, after a couple of years of assessments and paediatrician appointments, and Finley has been diagnosed with autism, and it all fell into place, you know, like this whirlwind of a child that, you know, I felt was more challenging to parent. Now we know why, and he is wonderful and he's amazing. So talk about everything absolutely happening for a reason. And Scentsy has been a blessing in so many ways, but now we're both home to obviously help. We're around for him and for any appointments, and Dan, and you know, Dan's around now. So sorry, I've kind of moved on to the next part of the story where, so yeah, we're in lockdown, and Dan had been furloughed from work, and throughout the first lockdown, it was literally like beautiful sunshine. The business was booming. He was home, and and it was the first time ever that I thought, we could do this. Like, this could be our life. This could be like a little sneak peek of what our life could be like. And if you'd have said to me at the beginning, you know, you and Dan will both work from home, I would never have believed it. Like, never in a million years. It was just never on my radar. But obviously life had changed quite dramatically, and so he'd been furloughed, and then when we started to come out of lockdown, they were making redundancies at his company, and yeah, it all kind of slotted into place. So Christmas Eve, 18 months ago, so not Christmas Eve just gone, the Christmas Eve before, he left his 17-year career in what he was doing and came home, and he was signed into the business, and the rest is history. So yeah, we're now it'll be 2 years this Christmas that we're a full-time stay-at-home family with 3 children, and up until recently a doggy who we lost. But yeah, so that is our Scentsy story in a nutshell. with a few little
so
off the timeline.
You would say Scentsy's been a blessing for you?
Oh my goodness, like Scentsy, this like makes me emotional. So I've got on my, I'll show you in a minute, I've got over there a black chalkboard or whiteboard that when I started Scentsy, probably about a year in, I wrote these goals and these visions down, and I'm huge on like mindset and you know, visualizing what you want to achieve in life. And but more than anything, it's the person that I feel like I've become, and I now love to help people to be. Like, I think more than anything, more than the income, more than the fact that, you know, we are both now at home, it's completely changed my whole perspective on life, on what's important, on what's... I'm just on a call, darling. Yeah, 2 seconds. Yeah, close it off. See, what did you say about your son coming in? That was my middle child. But yeah, Scentsy has blessed our life in more ways than I can ever really articulate, but it's more about like the personal journey, like the journey we've been on as a family, how I view the world, you know, like just everything. To say it's blessed our life is just the biggest understatement ever.
Has been the impact, like, so you say it's changed a lot about like your mindset of things, right? Where did that come from? How did you get to that?
So I am naturally, I think, like quite a positive person. I always, you know, I've always been like a glass half full kind of person. And it wasn't till I grew up and became an adult, and obviously, like you say, you reflect on maybe where does that come from? My mum has got multiple sclerosis and she's in a wheelchair. And when she hasn't always been in a wheelchair, like she could walk with sticks when I was younger. And even when Dan and I met, like she walked down the aisle at our wedding and then got back in a chair, but she's fully, completely in a wheelchair now. My dad is her full-time carer. And I think growing up in a home where somebody has challenges and has to like fight every day to overcome them mentally, and somebody that was always smiling, never moaned, like genuinely never moaned. Like obviously she had her rough days and we had a cry, you know, a lot together, but I think growing up with that without even realizing that is what I have modeled, like, and I always try and find the perspective in things. And it's not until I joined Scentsy and, you know, discovered like personal development and all these amazing books and podcasts and trainings that you can listen to on this topic, it was literally like a light bulb going off in my head. I remember when I read the magic, for me, of any book that I've ever read, the magic 100%, like understanding like gratitude and how like the huge impact and how what you put out into the world comes back to repay you. For me, like having that impact when I was growing up, and then learning that you could actually work on this skill was just life changing.
And
it's just amazing.
You know, I mean, it's crazy to me because it's the same for me. I mean, I was a social worker, so I always had a mentality of you can grow outside of, you know, what's given to you. But
yeah,
you know, since joining Scentsy, I've learned a lot about myself and what I'm capable of. And it's kind of crazy that you look at people who you see who are like stuck in their ways or in what's happened to them, that that there's this whole other piece of the puzzle that you can change if you choose to change it. And that's, you know, it's a brilliant point to say, you know, like personal development and realizing that exists. You know, it's not just you go to school, you know, you go to elementary school, then middle school, then high school, and then college, and then you're done. Yeah. Well, you're not. you're kind of never done growing and developing.
Oh my goodness, like not even even now, like 5 years in, I literally said this to Lisa when we were at SFR. So have your SFR is next week, is it? Yeah. So we've obviously had ours and it was wonderful. And after the first day at leadership, I had no leadership experience before I started Scentsy. I've never been in a job where I've had any leadership training. And listening to Deb, and I won't ruin anything, but listening to Deb Bowden that day, I literally came out and I was like, I haven't even started with what I can learn about leadership. Like, I've not even scratched the surface of, and that's really exciting. As a superstar director, people, I think sometimes, and I probably did it in the beginning, you think, oh, amazing, you hit SSD, like that's it. It's not. It's like you're starting again. It's like, right, where do I go now? Like, what can I learn? And you are totally right. Like, that journey of learning, like, never stops. And then you learn something else, and then you realize like there's a whole another mountain to climb, like not in a negative way, just in a, oh my god, we've still got so much to learn. Yeah, it's just amazing.
Okay, so I want to mention, so we talked about this just briefly, but in 2020 you earned the Kaliki Mocha Shining Star Award, which is anyone who doesn't know, it's the biggest, most official great accomplishment in the Scentsy world that you could achieve. And what that means is that you show generosity, simplicity in your Scentsy business. You've inspired other people to do the same things that you have done to be successful. What was that moment like for you?
Oh my god, like, so that was in lockdown, so that was so surreal. So basically, what I literally, like, people said to me, like, oh, you must have known, like, you must have, I had absolutely no idea. And I don't even know who sent me that recording, but the recording is on my YouTube. If anyone wants to see it, like, you can see the moment. So basically, I'd been out on my walk that morning, like, with the kids. At that point, you could meet up with, like, one other person outside. So I'd actually been with Lisa Allwood that morning, and we'd taken the kids out. And I'd got back, and I remember I was having to submit something, like something for some recording for SFR. Like, Dan was at work, Finley was just being Finley, and I remember getting like feeling like really overwhelmed that day and thinking like, oh my god, I've got all this stuff to do. And I remember Lee saying to me, what have you got on this afternoon? And I said, oh, I've got a call with Deb at like 4 o'clock, and I don't really know what it's for. Like, she said she wants to like interview me about my Scentsy story, just for something on the workstation. I went, I might rearrange it. And she went, no, don't rearrange it. Like, you shouldn't rearrange. And obviously at that point she knew what was going to happen. So I remember getting on this call, and I'd like plonked Finley in his high chair with like loads of snacks and was watching a film. Ella, like my eldest, was she's 14 now, so she was in the room with him. I was just in my little like conservatory, which is just off, not in this house, we've moved since, but off the lounge. And I was like kind of half watching him, and then got on the car with Deb, and I had this really old, like, because she said to me like, it's very relaxed, just come as you are kind of thing. So I had jeans on and this like really just, it wasn't dirty, right, but like just a grey vest, my hair tucked up, like, you know. And she started asking me questions very similar to this about how, you know, when you joined, what made you love Scentsy. And then Heidi and Orville just came, like, they were just on the screen, and it was the weirdest moment. They were just like, hi. I went, oh, hello. I was like, oh my god, this is so straight, like, what's happening? And then Deb just stopped talking, and Heidi started crying. And even at that point, I was like, oh my god, like, what's happened? Like, what? And then they said, like, you know, you're this year's shining star. And I just like burst into tears. At that moment, Holly Baker and her husband and a camera and Lisa were at my front door, like hammering on my front door. Ella was screaming, going, mum, somebody's like banging on the door. I've opened the door. Holly was there with these flowers. Honestly, it was just the most overwhelming but wonderful, crazy, bonkers moment. And I just, but then what was harder than anything is, that was lovely, and I spoke to Heidi and Orville on Zoom for a few more minutes, and then they went, and then we had like a little cup of tea with Holly, and then she had to go, and then she went, right, this is a secret now, you can't tell anybody about this for 2 weeks. And I was like, what? Because that was recorded, and then like SFR was like 2 weeks later. So then when the actual SFR came out again, I remember all these things now. So you were like 30 people in a garden, and it's actually mental to say that now, that our government, like, oh, I don't know, that's a whole other situation. But Lisa's got quite a big garden, and she hosted, and she's got like a summer house at the bottom of her garden where she had it on a screen outside. And it was crazy because obviously it came to the announcing the Shining Star, and I was just sitting there, and then people that were around the country were obviously, there must have been like a slight delay, because all of a sudden my phone started going ping, 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 ping. And then Dan had got like some balloons and a banner, and he came walking out, and they were like, oh my God, it's you. So yeah, it was, do you know what? I literally feel so emotional that like, that I had that impact on that many people to have earned that. But that, honestly, it just means the absolute world. I can't really put into words what it means, but I'm just so grateful, because all I ever want to do now, like with Scentsy, is just because of the amazing blessing, I just want everybody to experience this. So anything I can ever share that's going to help somebody to experience it, then I will, you know. It's just what we do, right?
So I'm going to back up just a little bit, because I wanted to really tap into your story more than anything, because I mean, that's really important to me. It is what the space is about. But then I want to talk to you about, what are some of the things that you did to make sure that your business works and runs. So what does it look like for you on a day-to-day? Like, I know in your video that I was watching, you talked about making sure that you're open every single day, you know, that people know that you're proud of being a consultant, that you're proud of owning this business, and that people can tell that you are. So what are some of the things and ways that you do that every day?
Okay, so you would say to me like, oh, what are your systems? And I think probably my first thing to say would be like, oh, I don't have any systems. But I do. If I actually think about it, I do have systems. And the biggest thing to me is now, I literally every day, like whatever I'm doing, wherever I am, you know, whoever I'm with, I'm not saying I literally walk around the streets going to everybody, you need to join Scentsy, you need to join Scentsy. But there is not one person, I don't think now, on my social media or anyone that knows me, if you mention Scentsy, I'd like to think that I would come to their mind, because I tell you what, I'm going to do this on 2 different ways. So I literally live, eat and breathe this business now. Our whole family does. Like, Harry came back from school yesterday, and he had a pencil case that I bought him in Norway, like on the trip. And he said that his teacher had said to him, oh, that's nice. Like, where did you get that from? And he said, oh, Mum, you'd have been really proud of me. He said, I said, oh, it's from Norway. My mum, he went, have you been to Norway? No, my mum went on a trip. She goes on a whole bunch of trips with her job. What does she do? She's a Scentsy consultant. And he went, I told you she should join my team, Mum. He said, like, so it's just totally like poured into the, and apparently he said she looked really surprised, and she went, oh, I've heard people do that, but I've never met anybody that does it like full time for a job. And he was like, yeah, my mum and dad do it. But I think I just naturally now, I just talk about it, share it. I'm so passionate about it now that it literally just pours out of me everywhere I go. So I've just made it like such a habit that it's just become part of who I am, and it's part of who we are as a family, because how could we not, with, you know, all the blessings it's given us. But I also, if I go back to 5 years ago and to now, I 100% know that without even realising it, I'm really disciplined when it comes to, I think because I already ran my own business when I started teaching my classes, I've always had to be like quite disciplined with my time. And what I've learned is, like, you have the time, whatever you're doing, you have the time to do Scentsy. And actually now I am, you know, home all the time. You actually have to be more disciplined when you're at home full time, because it is so easy to just think, oh, it's all right, I'll just do this, and then before you know it, the day's gone and you haven't actually got any work done. So on a day-to-day basis, obviously some days look a little bit different, but I am I am a morning person. I love getting up early. I always have. I mean, Finley gets up at the crack of dawn, but even when he doesn't, I just naturally get up early now. I like to, I get up and I do like a little bit, house is silent, drink a pint of water, make a coffee, and then I like to like brain dump what I want to get done that day. So I have my list book, and obviously I've got my Scentsy planner, but I actually have like a list book, like I'll just show you here, just some examples. And I literally like brain dump all the things I want to get done in that day. And what I've found is, over the years, if I put like my non-negotiables for that day, because there's always going to be like, you know, that list of like that kids club that needs to be done that month or something that needs to be paid for. But I found if I was putting too much on there, that can like be a little bit overwhelming. So I know everybody's brains work differently, but what I do is I get up, and while the house is silent, one of the first things I do in the morning is I think, right, what do I need to get done today that is realistic in like the time that I'm going to have today, or with my other commitments, or if the kids have got things going on or whatever. So, and that includes things like, I don't know, Scentsy things and non-Scentsy things. So if I need to get like my teaming recognition done, or if I need to get an order out, or if I need to get an order on the system, or if I need to follow up with, I don't know, people that, you know, about bring back my bar, whatever it's going to be, I'll make like a Scentsy list, and then like a house list of other jobs I need to get done. And I always put like 5 or 6 things on there, but I always think if at the end of the day I've ticked off like 3 on each side, then I've done something consistently productive for my business, because that's where your business is going to grow, is with consistency. And also it makes you accountable to yourself, because then actually if you're a week in and you think, or a couple of weeks into the month, and you think, right, there's nobody, I haven't sponsored anybody, or have a little look back at what you've actually done. Have you had any sponsoring conversations? Have you actually asked anybody about, because I literally write things like, have 5 sponsoring conversations today. And then, you know, like, so it's about being like accountable to yourself, and that makes me accountable. So I like to get up, I'll do that. I normally like to read like 15 minutes of something, like whatever book I'm reading at that time. And then I generally go and work out. And then I get the kids up, because that just sets me up for the day, whether that's going for a run. I've got a Peloton bike. I've got there's a studio that I go to that runs early classes, and sometimes they just pay as you go. So sometimes I go there. But I always like to set my morning up in that way, because I have a much better day if I do those things first of all. Don't get me wrong, there are the odd days that, you know, that might not happen, but if I'm at home, if I'm not anywhere else, that is generally what happens 99% of the time. And then it'll be school runs. We've got 3 different school runs to do, obviously, between the 2 of us. And then 3 mornings a week, Finley's not here, so I always generally really do work stuff, and I include work stuff in, as whether that's meeting up with team, whether that's, you know, stuff that I can't really do when he's with me. And obviously Danny's around as well. Dan actually runs another online business that he was a little bit of a hobby. I'm not going to try and explain it because I don't really understand it. It's to do with trading, but it was a bit of a hobby of his. He's done it for years, but obviously once he left his job, we invested some money into that. So he actually has another business that he runs, and he'll say to me, like, you know, like, what calls have you got? What have you got on today? Like, do you need me to be around to pick? Finn only goes till 12. And we kind of just work our schedule around each other. And then obviously the afternoon comes, it's picking up the kids, it's dinner time, and then evenings are calls, getting orders sorted, whatever I'm doing. So I think I'm just quite disciplined with my time, and there is no, I say I haven't got a schedule every day, but I actually probably have. I always make sure that, you know, as soon as an order comes in, I like to get that order out. I don't like it hanging around in the house for a few days, because I just think it doesn't need to be with me, it needs to be with my customers, you know. And the sooner that they've got their order, they're going to be loving their order, and then, you know, hopefully they're going to be ordering more. So that's just like a general, what my day generally looks like. I hope that was what you're looking for.
So I think what I really want to know because I think honestly, like, it's beautiful. It's perfect. Everything that you've said is wonderful, and I love it. The last thing that I would want to know or want you to share is if you came across someone who is maybe struggling in their business, whether it's the time, the commitment, maybe it's not having good luck with people joining, or sales, or whatever the case may be, they're just struggling. What would you say to them to help them and work through that?
Okay, so I do obviously have people say that to me a lot, you know, in my team, or if I have coaching calls, or, you know, people come to me and I always, the first thing I will always say is, remember why you joined. Remember why you started Scentsy, because I fully understand that, you know, life, like I said, I am a really positive person, but I'm not suggesting for 1 minute that like life is always sunshine and rainbows, because it's absolutely not. Life is, I won't swear, but life is an absolute shit show sometimes. Like, everyone has stuff going on. Everyone has times where they question themselves, they question their ability, they compare themselves to other people. Like, we all do it. I don't care who you are. Everybody has their moments of doubting themselves and imposter syndrome and all them things. And I think if anyone's having a rough day or having a bit of a wobble with their business, what I would say to them is, firstly, remember why you started Scentsy. Like, what made you fall in love with the product? Because I think if you lose the joy for it, and you start to put like mega pressure on yourself, and it's not fun anymore, you're not going to want to do it. You're not going to want to talk about it. You're not going to want to share it. So, you know, remember why you're doing it. Is the first thing that I would say. Second thing I would say is, like, just strip it back to basics. Remember, like, the Scentsy core values: simplicity, authenticity, and generosity. I think it's a bit of a double-edged sword, and I hope this comes across right. I don't mean this as it might sound, but there is so much training out there, so much content, so many idea sharing, which is absolutely wonderful. Like, I think we're probably one of the only industries in the world where you literally have every topic covered by somebody, whether it's on your workstation, on YouTube, absolutely, whatever. But as a new consultant coming in, and it's why I was totally inspired by Tam Richards when I did this. I'm just going to put that out there. I recorded a 10-day new starter boot camp for hopefully like bite-sized tips when you start your business, what to do. And if people are having a wobble, no matter how long they've been in, I'll say to them, right, just pretend you're a new consultant again. Pretend you're, you know, going for your shooting star, going for your sensational star. Strip it back to basics. The things that we have to do in this business are sell the product and help new people to sell the product. Like, that is it. Putting PRV through and helping teams get started. Get rid of all the fluff. And if you find yourself feeling overwhelmed with all these different things, go back to the beginning and find one thing to focus on, whether that's, I want to have 2 parties this month. I want to get my borrow bag out to 5 people. And really is strip it back to simplicity, because I do feel, especially the world you've been in for the last couple of years, and we have all been online, and we had no choice to be like that. I think sometimes when people get so wrapped up in this social media world of comparison and what's that person doing, and I don't know, my sample packs don't look like that person's sample pack. So it doesn't matter. Like, you do you. That you run your business authentically as you are. So yeah, I would say, like, strip it back to basics and act as if you are a new consultant, like sharing your business and sharing the opportunity again.
I mean, it's so true. Like, we see these people who jump in and they take off, and then they hit a point where they kind of plateau, and it's so important to kind of get back on the bike, or, you know, or the horse, whatever. And so
100%. Yeah.
I think it's wonderful. Well, I have an appointment that I've got to go to, but I think that you are spectacular. I totally appreciate you giving me your time. I know that time is valuable.
Oh my God, you for asking me. Honestly, I could talk.
Yeah,
I could
love
sit and
it.
chat to you all day.
So thank you so very much. Jasmine asked, it will not be deleted. It will stay here so you guys can watch it as many times as you want. I'm also going to upload it into my YouTube channel. And Laura, just so you know, I always add the income disclosure on the YouTube channel so that way
Okay.
we're covered and you don't have to worry about that. So thank you again for joining, and I appreciate you, and I know that so many people are going to be inspired and touched by the story. So thank you. Yeah, and
Thank
I
you for
can't wait
having
to chat
me.
with you soon. So have a wonderful, I guess,
Yeah,
have a wonderful
definitely. All right,
evening, I
take care.
guess, for you. Bye.
Thank you.